This is our Chapter 3 Ecology project by Megan Masra, Megan Belrose, and Josie Broom.
For section 3.1, the name is What is Ecology? The vocabulary is biosphere, which consists of all life on Earth and all parts of the Earth in which life exists. And ecology, the scientific study of interactions among organisms and between organisms in their physical environment. Biotic factor, the biological influences on organisms. Abiotic factor, which is physical components of an ecosystem. Species, which is a group of similar organisms that can breed and produce offspring. Population, which is a group of individuals that belong to the same species and live in the same area. Community, an assemblage of different populations that live together in a defined area. Ecosystem, all the organisms that live in a place together with their physical environment. And lastly, biome, a group of ecosystems that share similar climates and typical organisms. This is an example of species. This is an example of population. This is an example of community. This is a biosphere. This is an ecosystem. This is a biome, and this is a diagram of ecology. This is a diagram of biotic and abiotic factors, and this is an example of environment.
3.2 Energy producers and consumers. Autotrophs are organisms that can capture energy from sunlight into chemicals and convert it into forms that living cells can use. Primary producers, the first producers of energy, rich compounds that are later used by other organisms. Photosynthesis is a process producers harness solar energy through. Chemosynthesis, a process in which chemical energy is used to produce carbohydrates. Heterotrophs, organisms that rely on other organisms for energy and nutrients. Consumer, organisms that rely on other organisms for energy and nutrients are called consumers. Carnivore is to kill and eat other animals. A herbivore obtain energy and nutrients by eating plants, leaves, roots, seeds, or fruits. A scavenger are animals that consume the carcasses of other animals. Omnivores are animals whose diets naturally include a variety of different foods that usually include both plants and animals. Decomposers feed by chemically breaking down organic matter. Detritivore feed on detritus particles, often chewing or grinding them into even smaller pieces.
This is a diagram of the process of photosynthesis. This is a diagram of chemosynthesis. This is a picture of a consumer. This is an example of an omnivore. This is an example of an autotroph and a primary producer. This is an example of a detrivore. This is a type of heterotroph. This is a carnivore. This is a type of herbivore. And this is a scavenger. And lastly, these are types of decomposers. Energy flow through levels of organization. Cells obtain energy through the chemicals and the consumption of food and or photosynthesis. Tissue, groups of cells working together with similar function and structure. Organ, groups of tissues working together. Organ systems, multiple systems working together. Organism, sun, and food. Population, through ranking on the food chain. Community, through ranking on the food web. Ecosystem, the sun provides energy for the plants and organisms, which is done through photosynthesis. Biome, the organisms get energy from the sun, and the animals eat those to obtain energy, and the consumers eat those to obtain energy. Biosphere, for everything to survive in a biosphere, the organisms have to obtain energy from
Section 3.3, Energy flow in the ecosystems. Our vocab words are food chain, a series of steps in which organisms transfer energy by eating and being eaten. Phytoplankton, primary producers are a mixture of floating algae. Food web, network of feeding interactions. Zooplankton, diverse groups of small swimming animals. Trophic level, each step in a food chain or web. Ecological pyramid, a chart that shows the relative amount of energy or matter. Biomass, the total amount of living tissue within a given trophic level. This is a diagram of a food chain. This is a picture of a phytoplankton. This is a diagram of a food web. This is a zooplankton. This is a diagram of the trophic levels. This is another diagram of the ecological pyramid. And this is an example of biomass.
Energy flow through ecosystem. Energy flows through an ecosystem in a one-way stream, from primary producers to various consumers. A food chain is a main conductor of energy throughout an ecosystem. Many ecosystems have more complex food chains because many animals eat more than one kind of food. This creates food webs. Ecosystems maintain themselves by using energy and nutrients in a form of a cycle.
3.4 Cycles of Matter. Biogeochemical cycles are closed loops. Elements pass from one organism to another and among parts of the biosphere. Nutrients are the substances that an organism needs to sustain life. Nitrogen fixation is a process where bacteria converts nitrogen gas into ammonia. Denitrification is a process where other bacteria obtain energy by converting nitrates into nitrogen gas, which is released into the atmosphere. Limiting nutrient are the nutrients whose supply limits productivity. An example of biogeochemical cycles is the water cycle, and this is a diagram of it. These are some examples of nutrients. This is an example of nitrogen fixation. This is a diagram of denitrification. This is an example of a limiting nutrient.